Hey guys, Simply Betta here. In today's video, I'll be making a pretty dang cool planted Blackwater tank for the amazing Betta Macrostoma. Betta Macrostoma are the largest wild species of betta fish, and they're also, in my opinion, one of the prettiest. I had a video about them lately and my pair, and how difficult they are to breed and my frustrations with them, and how I was surprised with two little miracle babies, which this is their tank that they're gonna be moving into. I haven't had success breeding Betta Macrostoma for like 2 years now, so here's a link to that video if you wanna go see it. Betta Macrostoma is a species that thrives in low pH environments, which my normal tap water is not. My normal tap water is the opposite. It's very alkaline, it has a high pH, it has a lot of dissolved minerals in it. It's basically the opposite of what this species has in their natural habitat, which is why I'm going through the effort of making a soft water planted Blackwater tank. And I'm going through the effort of making my own water, of buffering that water down to an acidic pH using a buffering substrate, and making this fish tank just a little more comfortable for the species. Plus, I've never made a planted Blackwater tank before. I've seen some really pretty ones out there on YouTube, and I'm a big copycat, so I just want to try one for myself too. Planted Blackwater tank, let's do it. I made this already in a recent video of mine. This is a 20-gallon long tank that I set up with a buffering substrate. I've been clean cycling it with a bacteria starter and bacteria food, and I've just been letting this cycle. It's been like 2 weeks now, I think. So the tank is now, it has the bacterial populations that you need to support waste in a fish tank, and it's pretty much ready to just move on with, which is the fun part. I want to make this tank look pretty, and the first thing that you start with when you're designing a fish tank is the hardscape. Like, what wood are you going to put in there? What decorations? What rocks? I already have the wood that I chose for this tank. I bought a bunch of manzanita branches off of eBay. That was in a recent video of mine too. I've been soaking my pieces of manzanita in a water bucket for a little while now. The evil driftwood here was just holding it down. I've been soaking the manzanita because when you get dry branches like this, you have to soak them to get them to sink. It takes them a little while to become waterlogged, and these guys have been soaking for like a week now. They're still not fully sinking, so oh well. I'm still going to put them in the tank and just weigh them down like with a rock or something until they're fully waterlogged. Look at that beautiful color that comes out when manzanita is wet. Gosh, it's just so pretty. So I hope it's at least waterlogged enough to not be super annoying to try to place in the tank. Oops. One thing I've decided recently is that I don't want a dark colored substrate. I want it lighter. Like, this is gonna be kind of a darker water, a Blackwater tank, and I want the bottom to be just a little bit brighter than this kind of almost black colored substrate. I want a little bit of contrast maybe. I'm not saying I'm gonna replace this substrate. This is a very important substrate. This is Brightwell Florin Vulcanate, and it's a buffering substrate. And what that means is it's taking this water that I made, which is RO water, but I add in some minerals, some GH, but I don't add in KH or carbonate hardness back into the water. Instead, I keep that at 0 and I let this substrate buffer the pH of the water for me. It's kind of hard to explain. I really need to make like its own video on how to make acidic water if you don't have acidic water. I need to do that. So I'm not going to go into explaining it. It's just this substrate, I'm not going to replace it because that's what's keeping my pH low at about 6 or so. I'm just going to put a lighter decorative layer, like a layer cap on top of this substrate. This is a 10-gallon tank of mine where I have a very cute little fire and ice paradise fish hanging out. And that's it. This whole tank rack, as you can see here, I'm planning on resetting everything. And so because of that, I really want to take this substrate out and just use this instead of buying new substrate because I'm super cheap. So I'm gonna pull it out. Sorry, man, I'm taking your rocks. I'll start by removing this huge clump of algae-ridden stargrass. Now I'll go through and I'm gonna pick out as many of these cute little blue ram's horn snails as I can. I don't know if you can hear me over the sound of my rack's half-broken pump, but I'm just gonna use this tube, put a siphon on it, and suck out a bunch of this nice small gravel. There we go, 4 manageable little buckets, which I'm now gonna carry to a utility sink. I'm gonna rinse this gravel, get it really nice and clean, and then it'll be ready. Here are my manageable buckets of very well washed gravel. So just cup by cup, I'll add it. All right, I like the gravel cap. Now I'll try to add the wood and arrange it in a way that makes it look nice, and hopefully it won't be super annoying to work with because it'll probably keep floating. I do have some rocks right next to me that I can use to hold it down. I love that. I love how long this is. Nice. It is going to be annoying and float, unfortunately. And then here's my other piece. It took me a while of just like messing around with these half floating sticks to get them to look nice, but I finally got a little arrangement that I like. But the rocks are working. They're holding the wood down. Probably in like another week or so, this manzanita will be fully waterlogged and it won't float anymore. I'm just gonna move on to plants. In a previous video, I unboxed a cool plant that I bought for this tank, a needle leaf java fern. At least I think it's needle leaf. That's what the person selling it to me insisted. Java fern is a great choice for soft water tanks, for low to medium light tanks, and I think it'd be a great choice for a Blackwater tank. Needle leaf is a variety of java fern that grows really long and skinny, and it will look neat as more of a background plant. I got another variation from a different person. This one was sold as narrow leaf. So I got it to see if it's different than the other one that I got, and I can't really tell the difference. Maybe they're both narrow leaf. I got another variety of java fern that's a smaller variety called mini leaf, which is supposed to stay a lot smaller and more compact. I thought that the two varieties, the tall grassy one and the more compact one, would look nice together. I also unboxed these flippin' awesome stickers from DIY Aqua Pros. Look at these! I love the bettas, and look at this little autosynclus and this coolie loach. I just think they're adorable, and I have to figure out a place to stick all these stickers. This is the one I bought as the narrow leaf java fern. I'm just gonna put a plant weight on the rhizome and squeeze the plant weight, and then just kind of place it in a part of the tank where I think probably look nice. That way I can like move some plants around and decide where they're all going to go. Lead plant weights, they're very useful. They're not actually made out of lead, by the way. Usually I like to glue rhizome plants to something, but you know, I just want to be able to change things up if I change my mind. Here's that smaller, compact variety, the mini leaf. I'll put that more in the foreground. Now here is that big mass of what I purchased as java fern needle leaf. This person swore up and down that they bought a Tropica tissue culture of needle leaf, but needle leaf is very often confused with narrow leaf, so I don't actually know what this is. Maybe you guys could help me out. I'll do the same thing. I'll use plant weights on the rhizome and then move it around. So after I put in the needle leaf java fern, I had an interesting problem. I had in that batch of really nice healthy plants, plenty of little plant babies, little tiny java fern plantlets. They're a pain in the butt to have to like glue to things to put in the water and to have to deal with like using the method that I was doing because they're so tiny. So I think I'm gonna do something different with these plantlets. I'm gonna grow them out of the water. I've never done this before with java fern, growing java fern out of the water in an immersed setup. So I'm gonna try this for the very first time. This is a little cube that I haven't used since I had a little spawn of Betta rubra. I'm gonna put these little java fern in here. I put in a layer of just wet potting soil, and I'm just gonna take my little plantlets, like look at this little bitty one here, and I'm gonna put it into just right on top of the soil. I'm not burying the rhizome into the potting soil, I'm just putting it on top and making sure that the little tiny roots are kind of pressed down into the soil. I have a leaf here with plenty of little babies growing off of it. That's how java fern propagates. I'm just gonna put this entire leaf in. Maybe I'll have a bunch of little tiny babies growing off of it soon. I'm gonna cover this little tiny tank with some saran wrap and make sure it stays really nice and humid in there. I can't wait to see what happens. I love this kind of stuff. Next Next, I'll add things like leaves and bark, botanicals, natural things that release humic acid as they decompose. Leaf litter is a really popular and easy way to do this, like Indian almond leaves is what I'm using here. They'll turn the water a kind of a brownish tan color over time, much like the natural habitat of the macrostoma. Indian almond leaves or catappa leaves are one of the more popular ways to do this. The catappa bark is also really cool. I'll shamelessly point out that I sell these things on my website, so I'll leave a link down below. Today's the day. I'm finally going to take my precious little miracle macrostoma fry and put them into their new tank. It's ready. It's ready! The Indian almond leaves and the bark have been in here for a few days. They've added some nice tannins to the water, though I'd like to add more in there. I'll worry about that later. It's time to get these fish in their new tank. This is my tank rack where I keep a lot of my fish tanks. My macrostoma tank is right down here, and I'm gonna scoop the little babies out. Before I do that, I'm gonna quickly siphon just a little bit of the water out into the bucket where I'm gonna keep the babies. I got a bit of water, and now I'll get the babies. First one was easy. Second one was a lot smarter. So now what I'll do, because I'm a paranoid mama of these macrostoma babies, I'm gonna use a little drip line here. This is a shrimp acclimating drip line I got from Flip Aquatics. I'm gonna put this little hook right into the tank, and I'm gonna be slowly dripping some of this water down into the bucket, which I have right down here. Why? Because I'm paranoid. It's because moving the fish from one tank to the other tank, the parameters might be slightly different. I don't wanna startle the babies. I don't wanna shock the babies. So that's why I'm gonna be dripping this water in case like this is just a little more acidic than that tank. I don't know. Why not just be extra safe? So you can see here the drip line's set in. It goes all the way down to a little nozzle where you can adjust what flow rate you want to drip. I'm just going to do it paranoidally slow. And I'll probably let this run for like an hour, and then I'll be moving those little babies into their new home. It's time. This is what I've been working towards. I'm going to use the rather unceremonious plop and drop method with a net because the temperatures are the same in the bucket and the tank. So here it goes. Well, they're finally in. I'm happy. This is fun. The next step is to get the water a little more dark. I'm just gonna add more botanicals like Indian almond leaves and bark. And I should be having some pretty cool like Brazil nut husks coming too from a friend. So I'm excited for those. I'm looking forward to the Java fern growing in some. I know it's gonna take a while. Java fern's a very slow growing plant, but it's pretty. But I feel like I want more than just Java fern in here. Like looking at this, I want something a little bit more, something a little new, something a little different. So I thought, wouldn't it be fun to take this opportunity to try a new rhizome plant that I've never tried before? Actually, I've tried once, but it went horribly wrong. This plant is pretty easy, pretty low maintenance. It does well in like low to medium light tanks, and it does well in soft water. It's not a nubius. Can you guess what I'm talking about? Try to guess what I'm talking about. You'll probably guess it. So I think that'll be my next update. I'm gonna go order some new plants. I'm gonna put them in here to break up the look of the Java fern a little bit. Once the wood's waterlogged, I'll put it in a more permanent spot, and also the Java fern, I'll probably glue it to the wood or tie it. So that'll be my next update, learning more about some new aquatic plants and also spoiling these little Betta Macrostoma rotten. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe, leave a comment down below and say hello, because I usually reply back. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.